People, Shabbat Shalom. You made it through another week. I am your humble host, Mr. White Folks, aka Deno. And I'm lucky enough to have a fascinating person with me here. He's known to pull strings like Big Bill Brunzi. About Premrock. This is when you agreed to come on here. Doing the necessary research. It was so fun to do the necessary research on your back catalog, because I feel like a lot of people's first few albums are kind of broody. You know?
Yeah.
Your album, like The Build, is fun as shit.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
It's fun as shit. Clean, well lit place. Some of that stuff. It's just very cool, and it's a very good DJ Addict. Just great stuff, and kind of
good guy.
Hip-hop.
Shout out to Addict.
Yeah, it got me thinking about how Shrapnel, on some level, to me, feels like a celebration of the athletic event that is rapping, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's a fair description, and I appreciate that. I know Castor would too. But yeah, I think it was us kind of at peak form, playing off each other. I had never been in a duo before like that. So in it, there's and I've said this before, it's a lightening of the load when you're in a duo, it's like, I think that's why a lot of duos could be prolific. Doesn't mean that they can make great records consistently, but they can be prolific because it's half the songwriting. You're giving half to yourself and half to them. And he pushed a lot. The first record was I would say way more. I speak like any of you heard the second one because you haven't yet. But
right, that's fair.
Yeah, the first one was super organic. I think we've gone over that in a few pods, but it was kind of like trying to healthily outdo each other in a way, and I know a lot of duos say that same thing, where it's like it's a height of respect, it's a height of camaraderie, but yeah, you're trying to out rap each other, and at that particular phase when that record came to pass, it was like we're both at the top of our game, and I think we kind of just keep going up and up, so no reason to slow.
Yeah, no, and it feels, I don't know, from the outside, it feels like the relationship has changed both of you.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And that's, like Castro's trajectory and your trajectory, and just that upward trajectory from each other. And that's when like a group is really firing on the cylinders, because they're like, you're kind of bringing the best out of each other. Yeah. So it was the role. I think I've said this before, but basketball analogy coming, that like when Shrines came out, and like Backwoods started getting like, press, right? Like people were catching on, and the Shrapnel record was important because everybody was like, oh wow, like there's something else too. And that record was like the Joe Dumars to Shrine's Isaiah Thomas, if that makes sense.
I'm down with that. Dumars is great.
It's Hall of Famer, man. You get those teams in there without Dumars. So people needed what you provided there to be like, oh shit, Aaron McKee, and just like enjoy after the intensity of what was going on with that stuff. To think, oh, there's more to this label. And then Demisexual Lovelace comes out.
Yeah.
Realize the spread of talent that's on there.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to play a role, and it felt kind of integral to the trajectory of the label. It felt like that we're always going to be grouped in with Arm & Hammer, which is a great honor. I think they're the best rap duo ever, personally. I know I'm biased, but I don't know. Fuck it. Why should I let that affect my statements and opinions? If anything, I'm privy to more than most. So that being said, like to kind of give the definitive work in the outset and just be like, this is who we are. It was great the way, it came to pass. Everything comes from like a text or an email to a conversation to an idea to maybe we meet up, maybe we don't. And the fact that, it all came to pass and exceeded our expectations is kind of wild. It usually never works out that way.
Yep. No, it was, I think, and you were the first one of the Wrecking Crew affiliates that I was all in on.
Word. That's interesting.
Yeah, because of like the sneaky nature of how you present lines. There's like a delayed effect where you start to pull it apart and look at it. The line was really like a more Michael Eric than Iron Mike.
Neil
deGrasse.
Yeah. More Iron Mike than Neil deGrasse. So Tyson is the unifying word that you.
I was like, shit, man! All that the Dyson is inferred. It's not even stated. That's really cool. And
thank you.
Yeah, I was catching all these interesting lines and unpacking them later, and the references were, squarely in my wheelhouse. I was like, wow, this is my guy. This is slick. And doing the back research, it was really fun. And it lead me to the rest of the crew. So yeah,
that's great, man. I mean, I know it's happened the other way around for me a lot too. So happy to play my position there. But I like that you get those lines and you take that away the way you take it away, because that's why I write it the way I write it. Love a good punchline, but something about certain punchlines, the setup is a punchline, you chuckle, it's dope. You might maybe tweet it, but there isn't a whole lot of reason to listen to it again. You know what I mean? Yep. Now, when you extend it or pick it apart or kind of deconstruct it or make the listener fill in the blank, I feel like it rewards. It's more interactive, and you want to inherently listen again.
Yeah, it's a meal versus a snack, I guess, right? When you're like,
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You're definitely like, there's some stuff that you're going to the convenience store at 4 a.m, right? And that's just like what you're going to do. But there's some stuff where you can just kind of live with it. I was talking about, I was hoping to book Career Crooks, right? On, State of the Game. And
I'm sure you will. Just got to get a small on the
work. So, and my co-host was so excited. He was like, Small Pro's going to be there? And I was like, yeah, man. He's like, man, I listen to Death on the Installment Plan once a week.
Yeah. Oh man, Small's the best. He's the best.
Yeah. I mean,
he's the criminally underrated, I would say. Obviously, we all probably feel we're now underrated. I know is kind of the bad term, because within which that we are rated, we are not underrated. Underexposed, maybe, undermentioned, but he's at the very top, man. Incredibly diverse producer.
When I was with Scorsese pitching who in the Wrecking Crew is which X-Men, Small Pro was Beast, and I pitched you as Gambit a little bit. I thought that would be fun.
Well, look, all right, so I'm the least in the comics, but I know X-Men, obviously. But when I was a kid, I liked Gambit a lot, and I always liked cards.
That's it, man.
I used to play. I used to think I was good, but I'm not. Not very good.
So
I won like $500. I won $500 one time, and I thought I was like the king of the world.
That's awesome. No, you definitely. It's easy to feel like there was like a definitive Steve McQueen movie with that shit.
Cincinnati Kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's famous scene. If it's famous scene where he's up against the guy at the end, and it's like he beats him by one dime, the higher diamond, and nice little showdown.
No, it was like my dad rented it on accident. He was looking for a different Steve McQueen movie, a Western.
Yeah.
And he because he just loved revenge Westerns or something.
Yeah.
And Steve McQueen. And he had never seen Cincinnati Kid, so we watched it. It's a hell of a movie to watch.
Good movie.
As a kid. Really good.
Yeah, I watched it older, but yeah, good movie, definitely.
Yep.
Definitely in the pantheon of great gambler flicks.
Yep. Boldly depressing. I really enjoy. So
Most of them were, yeah.
Yeah. So the first question. This is an interesting one because where's an interesting way to start off. But you're a part of what I think is one of the most interesting sequencing things of 2021, right? And it's basically you finishing off Vertiver,
Mm-hmm.
starting off Yiddish Pimps on
Mm-hmm.
a Vetiver on Vegas Vic, and I
Yeah.
just that is such an insane thing.
Yeah.
And like, what happened when did you know that was going to happen? Did you know he was going to do that, or what was?
I had no idea he was going to do that. He told me later. In fact, Yiddish Pimps was supposed to be something we did for Bourbon Generals, which is me, Zilla, and all the beats would be handled by Disco Vietnam Barry. And that's one of the tracks we finished early. He hit me up. He's like, "You got any problems with that?" I'm like, "Not at all. You know, we're not close to finishing that record because we want to do it all in person."
Yep.
And we started it pre-pandemic, so it was, you know, it was been tough. We've had some nice sessions, and we have some really good stuff. But here nor there, I was like, absolutely. If you want to put it on there, put it on. He initially, I think, told me it was gonna open the album, and I was like, cool. Now Vetiver, I wrote to a different beat, had a different title in the beginning of the pandemic. So logistically, Yiddish Pimps was made before Vetiver was made, and I wrote it to a different beat. And I think I wrote it and I recorded it from home during that whole, you know, frenetic time where we didn't know if we were allowed to breathe air. So, but I remember being like throwing all my weight into that feature and hoping that the take was usable enough with my home mic, which, you know, kudos to Zilla for making that work. I mean, he typically can exhume some raw cuts, but if I can't get the dubs or greens, it's pretty shaky. Like, I can get it to you, no doubt, but you're gonna have your engineer is gonna have some work to do.
And I think Barry he says Disco Vietnam is the combination of him and his brother. I feel like his brother does the mixing and mastering, maybe.
He did on that record, yeah.
Yeah.
So Kenny, shouts to Kenny, yeah. He doesn't for everything, but he did it for Vegas Vic, yeah.
Yep. So shout out to Kenny for saving that. Yeah.
Shouts to Kenny. I know they are together. The brothers are together currently, so good for them. I know that makes them happy.
No, it was Zillaraka, who I think we should refer to as Coach for the rest of the.
Yeah, Coach Z.
Coach. The thing about Coach is if he sees you winning, he'll put you in the game. Like, he's not. So like that album became your album for like 2 minutes. You know.
I was it was very cool to see him you know, do that, and I thought a testament to his arranging skills, also his ego, being like, take this away for a minute, or lack thereof, you know, because you have to be pretty secure with yourself to kind of give up the floor, and I think we, you know, we're good with that with each other, but also like it's a really night and day subject matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, one's a story, romantic story where the guy does not get the girl, which is something I wanted to illustrate, is like, that didn't work out. You know, it doesn't always work out. So I thought it'd be funny if our hero left empty-handed and dejected. He needed that. He needed that, and then, you know, pick him back up with some bravado with Yiddish Pimps. You know, why not? So there we are.
Yeah, it's the opposite of the old 90s voicemail skit.
Yeah.
Where they're like, it's a bunch of just women being like, "Oh my God, am I?"
Yeah. Oh, no, exactly, and I want to bring back some humility to the fold here. You know.
Yep. No, it's good, and yeah, it was. I mean, it's really fascinating to me that happened, and like you said, a tribute to, like, part of the Wrecking Crew thing is just being really excited for other people winning.
Yeah.
Helping other people win, and so it's just a way of working that makes sense. Yeah.
It does, and too many people's egos just get in the way of them ever succeeding. I mean, it's a tale as old as time. It's been around since people have been around, but especially in rap, you know, for some reason, people believe there's only so many accolades. There's always only so many whatever to go around that, you know, they just, you know, they get hung up. And we all have egos. We all have bravado. It's what makes us great. But the ability to share, you know, makes
and
you
beyond
makes
that,
you
like
better.
the music business has folded into itself so many times since you started that like nobody's got the extra money to help showcase anybody else.
No, you can't put anyone on, you know, so to speak. But like,
no one's secure like that.
Yeah.
But in my mind, Mark's Wild Years is required list for anyone who's into Premrock.
Nice.
I wanted you to talk to me about your mission in creating and completing that. What was the reaction to it? How did that change things for you?
I got a funny story to tell about that album too. Like, I'll work it in here to this little diatribe. I don't remember the moment exactly. I've been a big fan of him since I learned who he was. Ended up with his the majority of his catalog on vinyl when I was in high school, kind of by chance, and didn't really even know what I had then. But you know, I knew who he was. I kind of thought he was more of a caricature than like a great artist. But as time went on, I began to like really dig into his catalog, and I became like, you know, pretty obsessed actually. And I remember just hearing so many samples and being like, nobody's ever flipped this. This is crazy. Like this is a gold mine, man. Like he does weird instruments, all types of things. So shouts to Steel Tip Dove, you know, because this record's almost 10 years old, but that's how long I've known him. But we went to his house and he did Christmas Card from a Hooker in Prague. We did that together. And then he said, hey, I have this other beat where I sample Make It Rain. And so that became She Took All My Money. So that was kind of the blueprint for the record. And then I started reaching out to different people. And it was all I was really talking about and doing at the time. I was very, very obsessed with the idea. Didn't really have any features in mind. Then, you know, me and Woods had become friendly probably like a year before that. And I asked Green, I'm like, do you think I'll do a verse for me? He's like, oh yeah, absolutely. So I think I just texted him. A couple of weeks later, he sent me that verse, and I was like, man, this is amazing. That like really cemented me as like a huge fan of him. And that was in the beginning stages of that record. So I think maybe History of All Me may have just came out. But anyway, so the record came out and really surpassed what I thought would happen. It was free. I made it free. Yep. So it was like, you know, downloads, hundreds and hundreds of downloads out the gate. Really cool, a lot of coverage. You know, the average person who wouldn't listen to me, I think, was checking it out. Or no, maybe I made it pay what you will. I can't remember, but people were paying for it. And that's the very beginning of that kind of Bandcamp thing where you were actually you actually got some money out of it, which wasn't happening a lot. This is a blog era for sure. You know, everything is free all of a sudden. And that was weird for me to adjust to too. So, so I played shows with it, did some really cool things on the West Coast, actually with a much younger Milo and Mike Eagle and No Can Do. And so it was cool. And then I remember I came back and did a show in Queens, and my merch for that tour was matchbooks that had my website and said Mark's Wild Years on it. And it was actually really, really great.
That's
super
awesome.
Functional. I was a heavy smoker back then. You know, I'm 5 years without tobacco, but back then I was. And I was outside with this guy who was at the show. And I think Mike Eagle may have been performing. There was a lot of people at this particular show. I think I was opening. Could have been Woods, might even have been Arm & Hammer's first show, something like that. But it's outside smoking a cigarette, and I'm like, this is a great place for the matches. I'm like, hey guys, check out the record. And some guy was like, oh yeah. He goes, have you heard about the guy who made a hip hop album, Tom Waits samples? And I'm just like, yes, I did. And he's like, it's fucking awesome, man. I'm like, yeah, it's me. And he goes, oh shit. And he goes, he told me he worked for BuzzFeed. You know, there was no fact checking.
Right.
He was like, oh man, I work for BuzzFeed, and I actually pitched that record. And they were like, nobody's ever heard of this guy. And I was just like, man, that would have been cool. And he's like, to be fair, I don't even think I would have got Tom Waits' album on BuzzFeed, but I tried. He's like, I tried for you. So it was cool. And also a painful reminder that, you know, to get that kind of press, you got to already kind of be somebody. But I would say the record was just, it achieved well beyond what I thought it would. And it was really fun to make. And, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a calling card in terms of other people don't do this shit. Like, they just don't do this.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And you have a bunch of moments, I think, that are like that. Like when we did that feature with 5 songs to get to know Premrock, my pitch was Catalina Fisher. That there's like a deep empathy in that song and a romance to it that is like really something that you don't see in a lot of people. There's like a 3-dimensional sensitivity to your writing, if that makes sense.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I was trying then, man. I was working it out. That was a weird time in my life, formatively trying to just make, like, you know, life make sense. And writing a lot of you know, short song stories and things like that. And I really missed the mark a lot of times. Thankfully they didn't really make it to record, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I remember I had a creative writing class, and my teacher was like, this is really good, but you have a problem where you crumble under the weight of your ideas. And I was just like, damn. And it kind of always stuck out to me, where your ideas are so big, so grandiose, so clever, that building the legs underneath the body, you mess up, you know, you kind of mess up that process. So since not necessarily since that criticism, because that was a long time ago, but you know, I do keep that in mind.
No, that is real shit for a lot of people, right? Like, a lot of writers are idea people and love the idea, and you know, the first stanza is just killer.
Yep.
And then, like, by the time you get to the third, it's trying to finish.
Yeah. Or you're like, you know, the meat and the potatoes of the story are where great writers are kind of made, and where they live. And the big idea is necessary, but you know, I know a lot of drunks. I work at a bar. I know a lot of drunks with a lot of great ideas, and they don't get made because there is no, you know, there's no discipline there.
No, you know, there. So, and on the Tom Waits thing, I spent time at a poetry collective in Maine, and weirdly enough, it seemed like every poet was into Tom Waits. Every traveling poets, the features, right? You just whoever you walked up to, you mentioned they were a fan of a specific Tom Waits, right? They're like a mule variations.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple things about him that are really interesting to me, and that kind of also give me hope in general, where he had many, you know, he had different eras. He was a major label artist who kind of beat the trappings of being a major label artist. It wasn't hyper successful, you know. He wasn't up there with the big names, but he was on the big labels, and then he became independent. But also a guy who was like really pretty recklessly drunk for a long time, and then got sober. Yeah, and became. What's that?
Can't remember the name of the one album, but I think it's the drunkest album that I've ever heard. I think it has "Drunk in the Moon" on it.
Oh, that's probably Closing Time.
Closing Time.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody so deeply inebriated.
Yeah. And I think it was ruining a lot of things in his life. And then he met somebody and became sober, then met his creative partner and domestic partner, Kathleen Brennan, who really, you know, stabilized his life a lot. But the reason I say it gives me hope is that you don't have to be the tortured artist. You don't have to be. He didn't make his great art until he got straight. Until he straightened his life out.
Yep.
And he was always kind of there on the cusp, but probably missing the appointments he needed to make. Probably not doing the right things. Probably on the road too much doing the wrong things, and it didn't lead to the breakthrough. The breakthrough came later, and he's been around for generations, creating what everyone would consider, not everyone, but what would be considered cutting edge music for 5 decades, and that's something you should really strive to do, I think.
Yeah, no, he's intensely positioned wherever he is, right? Like when he's in like movies like Parnassus or whatever, he brings it all the way.
He's an artist, I think, a writer's writer. And I believe his son is a big hip hop fan.
Oh.
Who did a lot of programming and synth work on, I think, like Real Gone.
Oh, good shit.
Yeah, which they did a reissue of, and it's phenomenal. I got on.
Yeah, no. One of the poets told me that Tom Waits is Bruce Springsteen if he didn't sell out.
Oh yeah, I mean, I buy that.
I like it.
I think it's cool that his son became so into hip hop because, in a way, Tom Waits was doing avant-garde things that were like in line with avant-garde hip hop ideals well before, and also wanting to be independent, was something he seemed to champion a bit.
Yeah, I mean, lyrically, if Milo Rap Ferreira dropped his like Burma shave next year, we'd all be like, this is awesome, and no kidding.
Yeah. Burma shave, hell yeah.
But yeah, no, it's so another one we wanted to talk about, because you've been in this so long, you've got these incredible relationships that I feel like have gotten us here. So I don't even want to talk about Load Bearing Crow's Feet until we get to the people who have really helped inform your work.
Yeah. Sure.
So how did Fresh Kills inform or affect how you use your voice?
Oh, wow. Interesting. Good question. He'd appreciate that. I'll take it to the beginning. Me and Kills met in South by Southwest, and I was like, oh, this guy, I like this guy. This guy's really friendly. This is to say nothing of his artistic ability at the time. I'm like, we can get along. Basically, we had the same booking agent, and he kind of like blind dated us and was like, you guys are gonna eventually tour together in some capacity. You need to. And I think he had a way different perception of who I was going to be. And when he met me, it was like a relief. I don't know what I I don't think I found my voice quite as kind of like a goofy, less self-serious person. Back then, everyone had the facades up, and the guards, maybe not the facades, but you know what I mean, the guards and
presentation.
Presentation. Yeah, man, don't want to present a different way. And we didn't, we then we ended up doing shows on the way back from South by Southwest, so we got to know each other quickly. Didn't really do a lot of work together, even until we had toured before we started really working together, which is funny. So we did like a massive European tour where we got to know each other, and then I think it was probably the second time we went to Europe that it was like people were like, well, where's your record? And we're like, oh, my record's here, his record's here. They're like, no, where's your record? And we're like, oh yeah, we're fumbling the bag here. We don't have it. We're out here touring. He's one of the greatest showmen you'll ever see on the MPC, and I'm here, and he's backing me up, and we're doing interactive routines, and everyone loves it, and it's really going over well wherever we play. But at the end of the day, people are kind of like, they wanted to take a piece of that home, and that's when we decided to like take it seriously. So I would say I made all those records I made with him in Toronto, to a degree, one degree or another. And I mean, he coaches well. I feel like it was recording at his house. So, you know, you're laying on the couch, hungover, you get up, you do some takes. It's nighttime, you're drinking, you're lively, you do a bunch of takes. I would say he's a positive reinforcement type of person, where it's like, that sounded great when it might not have. But if you did it this way, man, we would delete this take. And so now certain people, I respond well to that. I actually respond well to coaching in general.
Right.
I like to be coached by people who know better than me. Now, if someone's telling me what to write, like, that would never end well, because it's not how things are going to go.
Yeah.
You know, if someone's like, look, your delivery here could be better, and it's someone that obviously is an engineer of repute, Willie Green, Fresh Kills, for examples, obviously, I'm going to take well to that. I take well to direction, and you know, he'll be the type of person like, why don't you do it this way? He was a big demo guy, meaning like we would end up keeping demos, or sometimes a demo was the best take. I don't know if you're familiar with demoitis. Every artist knows it. Yeah. Demoitis, where you fall in love with that take that you can't quite recreate because, you know, the conditions are what they're. Everyone, I think everyone's been through it. I know me and Green have too. But how he affects my voice, I would say a lot of trust in what I do vocally. There's a way that I know he wants me to rap, and I don't always do that. And that's because I'm still just going to do what the fuck that I'm going to do. There's times throughout our collaboration where you hear the compromise one way or the other way, and the astute ear will pick up when he won and when I won. So, yeah.
I was listening to the Fresh Kill stuff. That question comes from like, I was like, man, there's so much more singing and like kind of sway in this. There's so much more melody. I just think Drug Moon is not a song that you would have been able to do with anybody else.
No, I agree. And he also is very encouraging of me singing. Not that I ever fully on croon, but I have like a bunch of songs where there's like a lot of that. And I don't sing like comfortably, because that's not something that I'm very like, I don't understand it. I don't understand how I do it. And that's probably on me. I should probably take some lessons. But you know, he was encouraging to do things like that and add these melodies, and it's another weapon in your cachet if you can do things like that. And you see not everyone, but you see a lot of artists start to kind of add that to the repertoire, as it's like adding one more move on the court, you know. Oh, you can also do that. That's pretty good. You can add your own textures. And I think he's good at adding that.
When someone is actively positively reinforcing your talent and adding their talent to make it a safe environment, like, it really takes a weight off.
Yeah.
And you get to push yourself to places you wouldn't normally, because you'd be.
Yeah. And this isn't to take away from any other engineer like Green or anything like that. It's just that I never stayed at Green's. Me and Green live in the same city, but I've never stayed over at Green's for 3 days on the couch. Like, well, yeah, I have, but that was when I didn't have an apartment, and that was before he had a kid. But meaning, it's not like, hey, I'm going to camp out. We're gonna make a record. You know, It's like, I'm going to come over for this session. These are situations that you get into, and there was times where he stayed over at my apartment when I lived at this other place where he was visiting New York, and we would just stay up, you know, drink, and he'd be like, get up there and sing, do something, you know, that you can't replicate in a 9-to-5 studio way, you know.
Yeah, and like the people you've worked with, they all kind of have different superpowers, and so that's a good description of Fresh Kills. Switching to the Willie Green, what was the relation with Willie Green? I want to set this up. Last week, we just posted it. We talked to Fielded.
Yeah.
We talked some Willie Green.
Sure, they're doing a bunch right now. Yeah.
How important like that relationship is, and I told her, I was like, I didn't think Willie Green was real. Like, when I developed this idea that Willie Green was like Homer, that it was a collective of engineers and producers.
Yeah, sure.
And because there's no way he's doing all this. Like, I was looking at the credits, like Willie Green again.
I mean, what are we talking about here? You
Yeah.
show me that run at the end of 2020, and you know, if anyone's done anything better than that, I don't know.
Unbelievable.
To drop brass like that on our heads is just it's so disrespectful, man.
Yeah.
I'll let you finish about Green though.
No, but that was like, so the relationship with Willie Green has gone so long, and it's been so formative, and he's such a talent that I can't imagine what you've gained through that relationship, for yourself.
A lot, man. I mean, it's just good to have him as a friend too, just kind of have my back, and you know, he knows the same way for me. If you know, there's situations in my life where, as a young idiot in different situations where, you know, you find yourself up against a wall, almost like a situation where you got one phone call, you know,
Right,
what I'm saying?
right.
He was my phone call, talking me how to get out of this or that, or it's not legal shit, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, to be with someone's one phone call, that's a big deal. So there was a time in my life where that was real. And I would just say, artistically, betting on yourself. I mean, that's what he did, you know. I'll never forget, there was a time when I worked as a hotel concierge, doorman. I was everything, but depending on what how my standing was, had I left for a long period of time and came back, then they might make me work the doors. But he was like, can you get me a job as like a bartender of some kind? And I was just like, oh, no, like you can't, this can't be. But shit was getting real. Bills were stacking up, clients weren't coming through.
Yep.
And then something happened where he got a gig that he didn't have to come back to, like, the life. He didn't want to leave music, but you know what I mean?
Yep.
And thank God. And then I remember a conversation me and him had a few years back outside of a venue where he was like, I'm going to open my own studio. Should I do this? And I was just like, yeah, of course you should. And he's like, it's a whole nother set of rent. You know, and he bet on himself then, and he continuously does it. And it's just, you know, sky's the limit for him. He works, also work ethic, never sacrifice quality for whatever. He'll take, you know, every engineer takes jobs that isn't like the pinnacle of artistic integrity, but that's right. You got bills. So, you know, but the way he treats every project, whether it's a backwoods release or outside of that umbrella or outside of hip hop in general or whatever, is, you know, quintessential. You know, puts his fingerprints all over it. And yeah, man, I mean, it's been invaluable, you know, as a person, even beyond music, just as a person.
I mean, that's incredible. And because it takes a lot of confidence to do what you do, because you bury these references so deeply, that you have to know that some of those aren't going to get dug up, right? They're just going to be there.
Yeah.
And so you have to believe that, like, the person who does catch that is going to lose it.
That's always been, yeah. I mean, it's Easter eggs for me have been the things that I've found over the years that have, like, stayed with me the longest from, you know, songwriting. And I just, you know, yeah, I know that I sacrifice, you know, some oohs and ahs, and there's some first impressions that don't give me a second impression, you know, and that's fine. Where they're like, man, I don't know what the fuck this guy's talking about, and they just hit skip, and they'd rather hear something, you know, a little more straightforward, which I get. You don't always want to unpack, you know. I don't always want to unpack. Sometimes I want to listen to very, very basic emotions and whatever. It doesn't have to be complicated, and I can, you know, I like to think I could make that kind of song too, but it's for the people who are really listening. It's definitely for people like you know. And that's, I'm not gonna ever trade that in. I'm gonna make projects that are a little more, you know, they're a little more accessible than the last one, but I'm not gonna trade that part of it in.
No, and because I had a similar issue writing my fiction. When I was writing fiction, the two major critiques of me were my grammar sucks, which is real. It's from a terrible school system. But the second one was always, it's too dense, right?
Yeah.
And that was always, you know, I think, and to adjust to that, I came up with a rule. an internal rule that was my writing needs to work on 3 levels, right? The first is just like a taste and texture level, right? Stuff that grabs you, imagery that's important, characters that are doing cool stuff, right? Second level is like emotionally connecting to the raw story, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Gets there. Hope he finds his dog, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
The third level is the symbolism of what this really means, right? And the third level should be there for the people that want it, right? But like the first level needs to be there for the people who don't care about the third level.
Yeah. I think that's true, and I think that's something that someone like Woods does a good job of, where it's like the third level is definitely there, but there's a lot of people who just take it at the first, and they're like, oh yeah, I love it, and it's like, cool, but you don't really get the whole story, and those fans are important too. You can't have.
Coach explained it really well back in the day. The Color Culture podcast. He said Woods like yells these lines one at a time, like bumper sticker style. So, like even when it's dense, even when it's like, Russian history explanation on Droog's album.
Yeah.
It's like it's delivered in these punchy, yelled out moments. So when I went to the show that you guys played in Mass, everyone was yelling every line with him, So he's
that was it. That was a great experience too, and to have like people yell these lines. I mean, it's like it should feel, and I know he feels good about the trajectory, but he's also he's a stoic and personal person, so he won't let it show too much, but it's got to feel good to write these just incredibly defiant way of writing and rapping, and to play it the long game and have it eventually connect is like there's nothing more there's nothing more inspiring than that. And it's like I could sit here and be like, oh yeah, I always believed in Woods. It's not entirely true. Yeah, I always believed in his talent, but I didn't believe that anything else would acquiesce to make it worth doing. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at one point maybe he's just going to get tired and be like, I'm only selling this amount of things, only doing these type of shows. Maybe I'll write a book, maybe I'll go to this or that. He could always be a creative, but I didn't know. I would be lying if I said I believed entirely of the entire operation fully as the way that it's come to be. And because we didn't know. And also it just seemed more and more like selling music was not a viable thing.
Right.
And then,
No, it's I mean, and honestly, it's a style of rapping that is still controversial, right? The more prominence he gains, the more people are like, what is this? This isn't rapping.
Well, like my my partner, she knows him now. They've hung out a bunch, and she'll just be like, "You don't care where the beat is, does he?" And she's like a longtime hip hop fan, and I'm like, "No." She's like, "Man, he says some shit though." Like she'll like, yeah, but it's funny, it's true, And she's not. I'm her entryway into this whole world of hip hop, even though she's been listening to hip hop her whole life.
Right.
Yep. And she's like, I didn't know you could really make it that way. And she's not going to sit there and blast Arm and Hammer in her, but a lot of it crossed over to where she's like, this is really dope. I never would have heard this before. And that's, the power of eventually, boosting a strong catalog strong enough to get Alchemist's attention to want to do a whole album. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think people who follow music as dutifully as you do, and maybe me, I don't know. But we like people from outside would be like, you can't do that, right? But like, because they're kind of rap is a search for the best rapper. Who's the best rapper in the world, right?
Yeah.
When in fact we're like, no, you're searching for the best color. We're searching for more colors.
Yeah.
Or a more interesting tapestries and mixtures of colors. We're not really looking for the best color. We're looking for a new color that we can flip in a different way. And that's why this has survived so long, right?
Yeah. I agree. And just if you've listened to rap music for as long as we have, you need these other flavors in the palette. I can't just have like 3 types of rap music, and
No, I mean, if someone goes up to you and says, is Bruiser Wolf the best ever? You'd be like, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Just enjoy this. Just enjoy this.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Shouts to Bruiser Wolf, man. What a beast.
Amazing. The whole team. Oof. So we're talking about. Oh, we got some good questions here. So let's get into it. So what percentage of success in music is raw talent, and what are the other percentages?
Damn. All right. Well, raw talent. You need to have raw talent. So success in music business in general and longevity and finding your fan base, I would say raw talent is still about 20%, which some might be higher or lower depending on who you ask.
Right.
Marketing, PR, money, it's kind of under the same umbrella. I put that at like 50.
Yep.
Timing is probably another 20. And so that leaves you 10%.
Which 10%, is like luck. Is that raw luck? Is that just like
10% might just be luck? But that, you could also file that under timing or whatever. But timing, people come out at the wrong. Yeah, personal. Put 10% personal. Like, what kind of person are you? You could be a shitty person, and that really sandbags you, or that could really help you, depending on where you are. In my line, in my world, in my lane, being a shitty person doesn't get you very far, because there's not enough payoff to rip people off. It's like, oh, he's an asshole, cool, like whatever, all right.
Right. Like, I'm not gonna spend my free time with this dude.
Moving on. Gonna do these string of $400 shows with him, so he missed out. Yeah. So it's like, but being single-minded as a person is going to be, I'll file that into like that 10%. Like, you have to be committed. Some people have no interest in anything outside of it, and that's fine. That's where they're at, and a lot of those people do get ahead one way or another way. So I would say that's part of it. And now, if you are like uber manipulative, so borderline sociopathic, I believe those type of people. I've definitely met those people in my life. I don't think I've met them as like in a music capacity, but I believe they probably exist in New York and LA predominantly. Right. But they're always, it's what person can get me to this next person, to this next person, to this next person. And I think that's got a shelf life too. And right. Unless you're becoming one of the highest powered agents, or if that's your end game, is to be a great agent or a marketer, you could probably do that and you could probably get ahead. But, like some guy the other night was like, I had no idea you rapped. He had been coming in the bar for a long time. And I'm like, well, I don't really wear a sandwich board about it. So, that you might not know. And then he was like, oh yeah, well, Travis Scott, he rapped for like 20 people, and then the next thing and I was like, well, his DJ was Mike Dean in that 20-person show, and he's like, who's Mike Dean? I'm like, well, I guess this is probably the point of this conversation. Right. You don't even know who Mike Dean is. Mike Dean was backing up Travis Scott at his first show, so that's where the difference is. Mike Dean is
legend.
I mean,
Texas. Yeah,
unbelievable. So that's your DJ. He was just DJing for Kanye and Drake. So right. You never were on the ground level. So that story of like, oh, Travis Scott, he grounded it out and he went from 20 to 20,000. You could do it too. It's like, not really. All those other percentages of the pie chart were in his favor. But that 10% of him, of that personal, might end up being his undoing, because he might just be too shitty of a person. So
yeah. No, that's a real consideration.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fascinating thing because I was thinking, watching you watch the show, when you went to Maine, I was thinking, I was like, damn, how many shitty opening acts has he seen over his career,
Many.
and just like never to be seen again.
Oh my God. There is like a land of these broken dream type artists where it's like you want to like you don't want to discourage them because it's like they're doing their thing, and maybe their dreams are really small, and maybe was their dream was to open up for me and Fresh Kills like 5 years ago. If that was your dream, then cool, you achieved it. But I never want to discourage anybody from doing what they believe in, but I mean, I could fill a book with some of these acts that are just, there's no way out of their self-designed prison, so to speak, right? It's like there's no way out of that because you're just a caricature of your favorite thing. There's nothing original about you. There's no particular drive. And it's just it makes for some pretty painful, you don't know your words, even at least know your lyrics, because no one else in the world does. And it's like that's it sounds harsh, but it's like
it's pain. Well, sometimes it's more harsh to not tell somebody, right? Like people be like, what about this local band? And be like, they're okay, but they're just a rip off of X, right?
Yeah like, and it's like it's two steps from a cover band. And
right, and you listen to it, you listen to the influence, you're like, oh shit, this is absolutely just a rip off of X. And you're like, has someone told them this? Have they ever, like, has anyone
they need better friends, and a lot of people don't have good friends who can tell them these sort of things. But like conversely, it's worked in my favor as being an opener over the years for some bigger acts. People have been like, oh wow, like, and kept tabs on me, or
it's awesome,
were nice enough to give me some time even when I was really like developing my craft. They kind of saw how serious I took it, and that too. I mean, I try to reach back if there's somebody who I saw on the road and I'm like, man, I give them the dap. Sometimes I'll offer to buy their CD. Usually they'll just give it to you, but like, and I keep in touch. And sometimes you really do see growth. And some kids in Europe I saw go from like waiting outside to freestyle to like they're now opening for you, and then you keep tabs on them and they're like doing their own shows, and I'm like, that's what's up. That's really cool.
awesome.
Yeah, so it's and everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people began as that opening act. So
I mean,
but man, a small percentage of those openers have what it takes.
It's never the people you would expect, to survive the wave, because it's about the grind on some level, right? Like, and the grind can take talented people out of the game.
Yeah, life, like I said, like to say that I unequivocally believed in Backwoods would be like, I was also afraid of the grind of life that could have Willie Green looking for a bar job, that could have Woods taking on like a word processing gig. Like, this is life. That could have Elucid working in kitchens, that could have, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is life. And that's like that. I was never betting against their talent. I was betting against or worried. It was everything else, every other aspect of how hard it is to be an artist, and how much this society kind of makes it more and more difficult for you to be it, and considers what you do not work. You feel it yourself. Like today I had off and I'm just like literally doing things in spurts, like listening to beats for 30 minutes and then communicating with said producers of who did the beats, then stopping this and this. And even you're like, man, I feel lazy because I'm like in my pajamas. I'm like, but I'm working on my day off. But society still makes me feel like I'm not out there getting it and doing it and doing the right things. And an outsider looking in would be like, oh, this isn't work. But it is work. And you have to condition yourself to believe it's work.
And as a creative person, you have to define work and redefine work for yourself over and over again.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of writing a book, a poetry book about an album from 8 years ago. And I took a break writing it and just read stuff,
Yeah.
and I had to be like, this is still work.
Yeah.
This is research work. This is still, you can't
even turning your brain off and putting on something is work. It should be considered work, but that's like a whole series of steps to recondition yourself, as an artist. It's a lifelong
people don't understand how, like, they just can't grasp that being work.
No.
So it'll be peer pressure on them.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll end up maybe despising what it is you once loved to do.
Whew. So this is where we get to it. Load Bearing Crow's Feet, my favorite album of the year.
Thank you very much for that, by the way.
It was funny. There was a call out culture kind of get together with the people, and Big R was talking about, from Houston, was talking about, because they were asking questions. Like, Coach asked him, "What is your favorite Wrecking Crew release?" And he was like, "You know what? I can't stop listening to Load Bearing Crow's Feet." And he just went into
I did hear that. So shouts to him, man. Thank you.
Bones of it. And I was sitting there with like the Bond villain finger, because I had already emailed Willie Green. I had already set the ball rolling. I was already getting that together in my head. So, and it was fun to write about. I was so engaged in it. So it's just, and honestly, the first listen, I was like, I thought this would be something different, but it's Prem doing Prem. Like, I wasn't, old over, but it was like the fifth, sixth listen. I was like, this thing is fucking perfect.
Appreciate that, man. Most people won't get to that fifth or sixth listen, but I think that's what happens if this is your cup of tea. 5 times in, it's going to really be your cup of tea, and like you're gonna appreciate the record for what I intended it to be, and and that means a lot to me. It's hard to make these lists, so for you to say it's your favorite, that means a lot, and for Big R to say the same, it's a unraveling. There's a lot in there. It's a really dense record. It's pretty enough to keep to suck you in. I feel like the sounds are, and that's like going for people like Brain Orchestra for the first time. I was really attracted to what he does with textures and stuff, and I think he's great. I mean, he's really phenomenal artist. So,
I mean, Message for You was in my top albums by mid-year or whatever. I was just, I love that.
He's hyper prolific too, and everything he does is super quality. I got a lot of respect for him, and it's something like learning from a newer wave of artists how to be a better artist is something that I've been learning to do in the last couple of years, because all the great artists that are still relevant are learning from younger artists, and have been doing that for a long time. You look at someone like Evidence. I think it's his birthday today, so happy birthday to Evidence. A great artist.
Yep.
That guy never stops paying it forward, and it's like you stop and you think and you look and you're like, wow, this guy has been a part of some incredible moments of hip hop. Truly, producer, MC, whatever.
Yep.
Iron Man touring artist, did all that, earned the stripes, did it with a group, did it as a solo artist, I look at someone like him as like a true inspiration, because it's like I hadn't been doing enough of looking toward the younger or even outside of my own circle for artists. So I started to try to do more of that on this record with Suede and with Brain Orchestra particularly. And I think it paid off, because it gives you more perspective. Also, it's pretty nice to hear someone be like, oh yeah, I fuck with your music, like, no, consider it done. Or this is, instead of like, oh yeah, here's my rate sheet, and like very cold interactions like that. Those happen, but it was cool to get that. Oh yeah, no doubt, this will be great, and we'll make it work financially. What do this is what I usually ask for, that sort of thing. not that I'm looking for deals. I like to pay people, but you know what I'm saying? It's that response. And even more so since that record, it's really happened in that way. So
it's been kind of that way, like on the Free Music Empire side of like, I'll tell my wife and be like, they said sure in 18 minutes. Like I emailed 18 minutes later. It's just sure. I'm like, this is awesome.
That's a testament to the work, man. That's more so than anything else, you know?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And it's just good to, like, that's what I was telling, I think I was talking to Coach about, because we're talking about metrics and how people like, I was basically like, even bad numbers are good numbers because you can build them.
Yeah.
Only 5 people fuck with you, just get to 7. And then pat yourself on the back, and then get to 9, and just keep doing it, you know, like, and a lot of people they'll get depressed that they don't have the numbers they want.
It's the number thing is tough. I mean, Spotify is it'll really dishearten you if you're a small indie artist that doesn't have any pull and weight in the algorithm or any of that, or playlisting, and it can really fuck with you. But like you said, you know, focus on the numbers that you can see growth, and it means a lot more when even if it's the smallest thing.
So it was interesting because you haven't had any solo albums on Backwoods before, right?
No.
And this is one of the weird things about Woods, is that he's able to kind of have long-term relationships with people and then release their best work at the best time and be like, boom, it's Def C's masterwork.
Yeah, and he did that with Def C. Yeah, for sure. And I remember when they met, I was there, I think, for the first time back in Chicago years back. And I think that's when the genesis of the idea came, and that was many moons ago. Now, me and Woods, different story. I think that it was always on the table in a way, but when we both thought it was the right way, and it never had been until you know, Shrapnel, where, you know, because I've known Woods a long time now, and you know, it wasn't like a foregone conclusion, you know. And he didn't hear the record before agreeing to put out the record. He was like, I do need to hear it, but, you know, in principle, I want to put it out, but I need to hear it, you know. So you do have to give, you know, he's become such a you know, important artist, especially in our scene, that like you want to give the best record to him as like, do you like this shit? Like, come on, man. Like, do you fuck with this? And I knew he would, and I got, you know, I mean, I didn't know he'd like it as much as he did, which is really nice to hear that. But, you know, I wanted to give him my best shot. I wanted it to be definitive, and I think there was a part of me that didn't want him on it, because I wanted me to flex on my own. He is on the bonus track that's coming with the CD.
Oh, cool.
And boy, is he ever on that song. my God. I think he gave me 32 bars.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and the producer is someone that's going to make everyone really excited, myself included, which is already passed. But point is that it's only a testament to how great he has been as an artist and as steadfast as a label owner and as a human, because it's like, it's a long time to be putting out music where no one could say Woods stole any money from you. No one could say Woods did this or that to you. And how many times have we heard that over the years when someone owns a label for a period of time? And that's not who he is, you know. He's an artist too, so he gets it. And I think the reason we give him these, you know, major statements is because, I mean, I can speak for myself, but I think I can speak at minimal for other people, is that we do also want Woods to be impressed as an artist.
Yeah, and he will. That's the thing. He's not one of these like iron-faced dudes. Like, yeah, it was the moment I'll never forget. I was interviewing Flash Clayton.
Yeah,
I was like, "You're fucking great." And like, when did the way people talking to you change? Right? People realized you were dope. He's like, it's still has it. People people front on me because they don't want to admit that I'm great in front of them or whatever. And I said to him, I said, the problem with that is that they're lying.
Yeah.
Right?
Or they're just ignorant. They don't want to check it out. They don't want to have the idea, you know.
I don't view it as complimenting you. I'm telling the truth, right? Like this is it. If you weren't great, I wouldn't say it, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I think Woods is very straight up with that.
Also, I think in the climate we're at in general, where I'm not speaking on cancel culture or things of that nature, but I'm speaking of where people's behavior is under a microscope. And if you're not a good person, more times than not, it's going to get exposed on some level. Now, are you big enough for it to get kicked out the door and no one ever hears of it? Then that's not an issue. But we're not, you know? So also Woods it's a way of Woods being like, look, I've known you for 10 years, 11 years. And, you know, I've seen you fall down drunk, but, you know, you're at your heart, you're a good person. You know, you're one of my best friends. We share a best friend essentially with Willie Green, and it's made us closer for that. But you know, and then Def C, it's been years in the making.
Sure.
And he sees what kind of person Def C is. You know, that's a long time to ruin a relationship, and for you to only strengthen it, it means you're not gonna tuck tail when it gets bad, and it also means you're not gonna surprise you with some character trait that we had no idea about. And I think that's part of it. You look at Castro as well, and yeah, man. But he's a pace car as far as rap writing goes for me. I'm trying to make it so I'm in that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, being savvy in music or as a creative person is this weird mixture of learned instincts from mistakes.
Yeah.
Like intelligence, emotional intelligence, you know, gut feelings. It's this weird mix. And it seems like Load Bearing Crow's Feet is built on that. And to your evidence point, right? The thing, evidence that I'll never forget about, and this is in Blueprint's book, right?
Yeah.
The 10 successful traits of hip hop artists. It's a great write up on evidence. But he's immaculate at organizing himself.
Yeah.
Always organizing and reorganizing himself. He's always got a plan. And so how long did it take you to get the mix of production you wanted on Crow's Feet? Old names, new names, old features, new features. When did you find the mix you needed, and how did you know you were there?
Well, yeah, everything about this record took longer because of COVID, and the fact was we were supposed to go and kind of unearth it. I had those Denmark beats for a really long time, to the point where he hit me up and was like, yo, just checking, like, these coming out? And I was like, yeah, here, boom. And then he was like, mixes, you know, and he was just like, he had an experience where somebody really fucked his shit up, and he was like, I want to know that you're not. And I'm like, you know, Willie Green's on it. He's like, bet, say less. I don't have to worry about it. But he was still like, didn't I give you those beats? Like, what's up with those, you know? And kind of the same deal with some other people. And yeah, I wouldn't say that the record was finished until I got Henry Canyon's on the Small Pro Shortest Story Ever song. That's when I knew the record was finished. And then I think I did that, and Soft Machinery were the last songs I recorded. And a lot of artists will tell you the last songs they recorded are the best songs. And I think that's kind of a nice testament to that, because I was really writing my ass off at that point. So that's why Soft Machinery is written the way it is. And I know you mentioned it was one of your favorites. So
my favorite lyrical moment on the
word. Thank you. I mean, I was in the fucking zone at that point. And
right.
And I sent Henry, I had written part of Shortest Story Ever to a different beat from Small Pro for a project that didn't come out or it came out without that. So I was like, yo, I need one more beat for this project. And he sent me like 5, and that was one of them. And I was like, that's it. Straight up. That's it.
Yep.
Wrote my piece, sent it to Henry. I go, Henry, we've been trying to get on the same page for fucking ever, years.
Right.
Good friend of mine, but he's super particular about his features. You know, he can't do it unless he's 200% in. And I'm like, I'm telling you, man, if I got you wrong, if you don't want to do this song, I get it, and I guess I just don't know you well enough. But here's my parts. Here's the beat. Go in. Just please repeat this shortest story ever thing for me. And he was like, I love it. Who did this? I need this. I need beats like this in my life. I'm like, well, we need a Small Pro Henry Canyon's EP.
Oh, no question. That's awesome. Yeah.
So it was good to see. He delivered. Obviously, great verse, great feature. Great to have him as a callback in Backwoods too, because he's one of the first artists Woods signed, which a lot of people know. So people being like,
right,
who is this guy? He's known Backwoods, been a fan of Backwoods longer than any of us. I mean, we're talking, this dude had the Chalice and stuff like that, which I was like blissfully unaware of. And
awesome.
So to bring him back into the fold on my signature Backwoods release felt really poetic to me. And that was all I needed. I was ready with the record.
I've said it before. Canyons is so solid that his voice relaxes me.
Yeah.
You get like one of those like character actors who walks into the scene you didn't know they were in the movie, and you're like, oh, thank you. Oh,
he's a crazy performer too, and he's very unassuming, right? He's a person that you can introduce to your wife and to your mother, and feel very like confident that this person's going to be like, he's going to take them in with their charms, and like just at the end of the dinner, they'll be like, can Henry come more often, right? And I've gotten to know his mom, I've gotten to know his family, but like specifically his mother, because she lives in France, and whenever we toured, we would go stay with her.
Oh, okay.
And apparently, to be a good house guest in France, all you have to do is eat a lot and drink a lot of wine. And your boy, your boy was as good as they come when it was house guest, and to chill. Don't help.
Right.
Okay, so it's in my nature to grab some things. I'm a service industry person. Like, let me clean up. Nah, don't do that. Maybe one day they'll let you do it, but it was again another testament to like, these are people that I've known forever, and if there was new people who caught up on Henry after that because of that, I mean, that's what it's all about.
And all his verses are about being a solid individual, being loyal to people, not messing people over. He just seems like, I was telling Googie that I was like, there's because I love that Hijinks album that they did.
Severely underrated record.
Incredible. And I told Googie, I was like, there's a line on there where he says, Googie, be my dude. And I fucking believe it.
Yeah. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
And I know both. I've gotten to know Googie really well too. And Googie knows my partner and a lot of my friends at this point, because he makes his way up to where I live, which a lot of people don't in New York. So, and he's a great party guy. So everyone has gotten to know him quite well. And I wish they would make more music, but maybe they will.
So this is the craziest question. This is fun.
Got my Bronx brew for this one.
Woo! Let's get up. So we're gonna draft a starting 5 of MCs and producers you've worked with.
Okay. So explain to me the rules. So
you're managing the team, you're not on the team, right?
Okay, I'm managing the team. So it's got to be a 5 MCs or 5 producers or a mix?
Mix.
All right.
Or you can do both, do 5 MCs, 5 producers. Up to you.
It's a tough one because I kind of want to. Can I do 2 5s? I want 5 producers, 5 MCs.
Do 2 5s.
Yeah, okay. All right. So in 1 5, let's do the producers. I want Small Pro running the point.
Nice.
I want there's no no confusion there. Small Pro's running the point. Because he's also, we never played ball together, believe it or not. But He's supposed to be nice with it. So, and I'm kind of intertwining basketball acumen too. So
with the skills, yeah, I like it.
So I'm gonna put Blockhead there at the 3 because he's got some game. We talked about that.
Love it.
Small Pro the 1, Blockhead at the 3. You know what? I need Quelle running off ball all around.
Love it.
Left and right. You know, yep. I see him as a two-way scorer. He can get his buckets any which way. Man, who else? Who else do we got here? I mean, there's a lot. I know.
Yeah. No,
it's a bit extensive, which is good.
Indeed.
You know, I got to give Green the 4, even though I got reservations about his athletic ability. I'm not going to ask him to do too much.
Right.
Let's leave it at that. And then at the 5, this dude was taller than I thought he would be. So I'm going to put Brain Orchestra there at the 5.
Oh,
going to anchor the defense. Denmark off the bench. Denmark and Kills off the bench because I think Denmark is like a spark plug.
Yep.
I think he gets buckets real quick. And I played basketball with Kills. He's a lefty, so he gets at least 2 baskets off the jump that you don't know are coming.
Oh, so, that's good too. Yeah.
There we go. Now MCs. All right. Well, we got to put Homeboy Salmon at the 5. He's like 6'5", and we'll throw him back there. He go. Sorry, Sands, you're wearing a mask. But you're playing 5. I want Woods. I want Woods and a Lucid as my 3-4. Right. Those are the wings.
I like it.
That's a tough one. Someone's gonna get mad at me. I get Castro at the 2.
Yep.
Yeah, because he said he was good when he was younger. Before his back caught up to him.
Got the mentality.
And running the point. He's going to make or break this team, but I have faith in his artistic ability that Open Mike Eagle will get the ball. We'll get the ball to the right guy. What do you think? Not bad. Now that you made me think of that, I'm like, damn, I got the squad.
I love it, man. I ran around all year. I remember I ran around my office telling everybody Brick Body Kids Still Daydream is better than Damn or whatever.
Yeah.
Just been like, he didn't, like Mike Eagle did it better. I was just so adamant.
Yeah. And then, the bench, my bench is deep, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I'll respect the Zilla.
I'll respect the coach.
We'll bring coach. Why doesn't coach will coach with me? How about that?
Coach will coach, assistant coach. I was gonna give you a chance here because me and you are in a fantasy basketball league.
I'm getting my ass whooped.
And
I think I'm winning this week, finally.
I feel like coach has been able to run the narrative on this league from call out culture. Wanted to give us a chance to characterize our teams without my team. Give you my video. This is my first time having done fantasy basketball. And since there's no pay involved, no money involved, I view my team as the Monte Ellis Warriors. Like, we're fun as shit. We'll beat you sometimes. We'll lose sometimes. I lost by 0.7 one week.
Brutal.
That's Monte Ellis Warriors right there.
I now that you frame it this way, I got my team. My team is that year that the Timberwolves got Jimmy Butler and everyone was like, oh, they're going to win. Theoretically, they had a good team. Theoretically, I have a good team. But we're not winning shit. And because you don't win on paper.
It's just not there. The chemistry is not there.
To defend myself, I never play fantasy basketball. I only play fantasy football.
Yep.
Which I'm in number 1 or number 2 in all 3 of my leagues. We're playing for money. Winners are going to get big money.
Yep.
That's where all of my attention lies because I really enjoy. Now, basketball is something I always played, and I understand like the nuances of the game pretty well. But football is something that I always really liked watching and predicting individual players becoming who they become.
Yep.
More so than basketball.
Like De Niro in Casino, right? The goalposts and the wind and the whole deal.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting question for you. What because you're very literate, right? And this is one of the things that I've always felt. I was like, oh, this guy's in my wheelhouse. We're talking Waits, we're talking, even Cowgirls Get the Blues, and we're talking all this, So what writer, non-rapper, influenced your writing the most?
In the past, Tom Waits is up there, but I'd say like present day, my best friend from like childhood is really interesting character. He makes music, but he doesn't put it out often, or if ever. But he always is on the cutting edge of like what's happening.
Yeah.
He put me on to Phil Elverum from Microphones and Mount Erie, and he was very inspirational. And then I would say, I know he's turned out to be like a real scumbag, but Mark Kolizak, Sun Kill Moon.
Right.
I heard the album Benji, and I was like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
This album is really fucking awesome. Really like Big Thief and Japanese Breakfast of late, St. Vincent. Some really good women.
Outside of music, what about
outside of, okay, so that's outside of rap. Outside of music, yeah, I mean Baldwin, I think that's cliche, but you gotta always give the guys his credit, man. Unbelievable writer, unbelievable use of language, turning of phrases, incredible. Hunter S. Thompson, classically one of my favorite, defiant, irreverent voices.
Right. Yep.
I recently read a book. Maybe it's right here. Oh, I read a book called from Nafisa Thomas Spires. It's called Heads of the Colored People. Really cool, really contemporary. Like the guy has like a Mos Def album in his iPod in the beginning of the story, which I found one of my favorite things to connect is when I'm reading books, like more contemporary books, and you find out like rappers or people are like implanted into the story. Like there's a book called There by Tommy Orange about Native Americans in Oakland, and there's one guy who's born with fetal alcohol syndrome, right? So he has his face is like contorted in such a way that they all know when each other has it, right? Which is really very sad, but the way they present it's like that's reality. Like there's a lot of natives that are born with this, right? So they call it like the drum, if you have the drum. So he got on a bus one day and found like a mini disc player, an iPod Nano, and the only thing on it was Doom. So the character was like, wait, who is this guy? And then he saw the mask and he goes, oh, that's my guy. I want to put a mask on and I want to do this. And it was really that was a cool awesome. little connection. But that was, I thought that writing was really good. Tommy Orange was his first book.
Check that out. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think what else. Recently. One of my best friends is Guatemalan, and he's a hugely present person in my life. He's a poet, he's a weirdo, he's a maniac, calls me at the weirdest times of the night, but he's a very Latin American centric in terms of writing. That's where it all began, that's where it all ends, that sort of thing. He loves to get on his tangents, but he's put me on to a lot of voices from there, man, like Bolaño and Neruda even. I mean, his autobiography is pretty incredible. So I read that not too long ago. So seeing those two kind of juxtaposed and I just pick up like kernels, way things people, and it's not even the way they said it, it's the translation. So it's like, I'm then retranslating it myself into something differently. And so there's a lot. I'm probably not thinking of them now.
Yeah, but it's weird to think of the moments in your creative life where you read someone new and it switched you in a totally different direction?
Yeah. Yeah.
This background is the Subterraneans, Kerouac.
Yeah.
And that was just like, I couldn't care less about On the Road, like when they presented it to us, like, but Subterraneans just really hooked me. There was
Yeah. I got a Dharma Bums that my friend left over here. I haven't checked it out yet, but it's like a nice little dog-eared copy.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, the guy who had this left it at my bar. Then my friend Gustavo picked it up, then left it here. So now I have it. So finder's fee, man.
No, it's I think it's
staying
like
in the library.
the people that I kind of got interested in were like people who were able to make their narcissistic tendencies cinematic in some weird way.
Yeah.
Kerouac did that. Like Fellini was a big inspiration for me with that movies. So
Kerouac disappointed me, man, a little bit when I first read On the Road. Yeah, Big Sur, I guess, is better. Town in the City. But I remember being disappointed insofar as like that. I'm like, that's what your whole vibe was just to run around and pursue kicks and
right.
Chips fall where they may, and you see good people die and you move on, and there's someone back home that has your kid. It was like, oh, okay. I'm like, you guys kind of just did whatever you wanted, and we're good ride. I'm lumping him in, and specifically that book. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I think other writers of that era, I think, did it a little better. But
no,
Subterraneans, I will check.
I mean, it was instrumental for me at a time because I think I had a view of those times, and then like I would read a short story of his with like a blonde lady handing him pills, who he had just hitched a ride with, and I'd be like, wow, this was that.
Yeah.
Informed what that was, and then like the other moment I thought of was I read Hemingway and I became a big Hemingway person, and then I read Chekhov and was like, oh shit, this is better Hemingway. Fucking better. Like I'm now like all in.
I never read Chekhov. A lot of Hemingway. A lot of Hemingway. I just watched the yesterday, the Vonnegut Unstuck in Time documentary. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but it's.
Oh no, I haven't.
Are you a fan of his?
That was so. I've never read Vonnegut, but that was my number one comp. Like in the writing scene, people would be like, "Your shit is like Vonnegut." I'd be like, "Okay, I have no idea what that means, but sure."
You should. I mean, I'm sure people have told you, but yeah, you should. You should check them. You should check out probably. I mean, obviously Slaughterhouse-Five, but like Cat's Cradle, Bluebeard. Bluebeard's underrated to me. Yeah, man, he's probably my favorite, actually.
And I think with loving a writer, I always avoid the classic. Find a weird one.
Yeah. Oh, he's got plenty of weird ones.
Yeah.
He's got plenty of weird ones that did not rate well, but that are still good in their own way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so the last question. This is for interesting people here. What is your favorite non-hip hop album of the last 10 years?
Oh wow. Last 10 years. Let me see. Let's look at my computer here for some clues, maybe. There's a lot.
I always tell people mine is The Idler Wheel by Fiona Apple.
Yeah, I mean, great choice. Had to have come out in the last 10 years, yeah? Okay.
Yep. No, with the I think, well, it wouldn't make the cutoff now, but Coach had always told me Acid Tongue by Jenny Lewis would be in the mix. It's a biggie.
Yeah, no, yeah. Jenny Lewis is pretty great. I have this one. Ooh. Non-hip hop. I mean, there's plenty.
Oh yeah.
Might have to be a Microphones album. Bon Iver is a guilty pleasure of mine, but I'm not ready to give him that mantle. Shit, man.
I always like the Bon Iver albums that other people aren't that into, and the ones that take it off, I'm like, it's fine. Like it's I never seem to sync up with the
checking
narrative.
out my Bandcamp because maybe I'll have more clues.
Oh, so much wild shit.
Yeah, what are the last things I bought on vinyl? Definitely the Big Thief and the Japanese Breakfast records I thought were excellent. I don't know if I'd give either the mantle of best of the last 10. It's a big honor. I don't think I have a definitive answer for you. I'm sorry, but I'll put like the one Big Thief record, the one Karangbin record.
Krungbin, right? With the
yeah, man. Good one. Pretty awesome album. What was there? The Universe Smiles on Thee, maybe is what it's called. I mean, I play that album all the time, and it's almost like, what is it? Yeah, The Universe Smiles Upon Thee, I think.
Upon you. Yep.
I mean, maybe that, man. I mean, that was so good. Oh, okay, I got one.
Yep.
Sufjan Stevens' Carrying Low
Ooh.
is up there for me too. Incredibly emotional album. I think I remember Danny Brown saying it was his favorite album of that year too, and I was like, fuck yeah, that's the reason I fuck with Danny Brown so hard. It was I listened to that album a lot. I mean, a lot. So I'm gonna put that up there. So something like probably the Sufjan record.
Yep.
Or the Krungbin.
It makes sense with what we talked about with Stevens and with Fiona Apple, people that are really unique. And this fits what you do. Like, you say shit people don't say. Aplomb, and like, there's just turns of phrase, ways of speaking that are yours. And that's kind of the magic of what being a creative person is about. You know?
I like to think so. And you continue to light the fire for me to keep doing it. I've been kind of burning through this new project that I don't quite know what to make of yet, but I was working on it today. Some interesting beats. People have been sending me some really interesting stuff, and kind of framing it and using some connective tissue of my own with my own loops that I got laying around. And who knows? I don't know what's going to come of it, but I'd like to put it out in 22 if fall permits.
Figuring out what your shit means in editing is so weird.
Weirdest, man.
Such a weird fucking thing to be like, oh shit, all this is tied together through this, and you're like, it's just.
And then you get to a point where people are like expecting a certain level of quality, and that's different. I mean, what you'll hear in 22, there'll be plenty of shit. There'll be like 3 projects at minimum, but I've been done with those. So it's not what I'm writing now. And what I'm writing now is more like taking a step back, thinking about what I really liked about Load Bearing Crow's Feet, what I didn't, which is it's new to do that, but there's a couple of moments where I'd be like, I could have done that moment better. But I had also submitted Load Bearing Crow's Feet a year and a half before it came out. So, that's the way these things happen. So I think that I might want to do with the next project, kind of release it, mix it quickly, and put it out quickly just to see what that feels like. And because I don't really know what that feels like.
No, to be in a zone and be able to just kind of work out through that zone and get it out.
And like I said, more people are enthusiastically responding to the emails, and that's really cool. So that only, encourages more behavior.
Incredible, man. I appreciate not only Load Bearing Crow's Feet, but I would say your approach to guest versus this year has been CL Smooth on Down with the King level.
Hey man, you asked me to be on it. I'm trying to take it. That's what that is.
That's amazing. I think that's one of the reasons that Castro has so much respect for you, because he just shares that understanding. Like it's important to Castro that like MCs don't punch in too much, or that breath control is real, and that like
yeah.
I was watching a rap video on YouTube and I started laughing, and my wife was like, "What are you laughing about?" And I was like, "Well, rappers have a thing where when they need to breathe, they'll pick a word that they say to breathe, to ventilate." And this
Yeah.
guy just says, "Yeah." He just yeah, yeah, and it's just funny to me because I'm like,
Crutches, you know.
your breath control, and you don't know that until you know that, until you can see the mechanics of it. But all the pieces are really important, and that's kind of shrapnel, right? That's kind of the defining thing of shrapnel.
Oh yeah, yeah. And we'll be on each other's albums for forever. And we'll be trying to do the same thing to each other. Even though I got sandbagged on Killer Priest. The beat switch, I mean, come on, I couldn't have won that battle. What's going on there? I'm like I'm luring you in to this like romantic 6/4 walk up, which is not romantic at all in New York City. It's kind of the worst thing you can do. And then he smashes you in the face. I'm like, well, okay, it's your song. I get it. Duly noted.
He is no, that fucking album. I can't escape that album. That shit is.
It was a true treat to do the switchness in these all white towns. It was good. So there was some times where he's like, should I do it? And I'm like, yes. If you think you shouldn't, like, this is where we definitely do it. This is a town we definitely do it in.
What was that album? Fucking great Randy Newman album about Southern racism.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, what the fuck is that thing called? But he and it's all from perspective of Southern racist people.
Okay.
In the 60s or 70s. And he toured down south and just did these satirical songs making fun of it. It's called Good Old Boys. 1974. Incredibly inappropriate satirical album, but hardcore satirical. And he toured all through the South making fun of this.
That's amazing.
So
love it. Yeah, man. Appreciate you and all that you do and the collective does behind the scenes. Good to connect with people that just fucking are really really listening deeply, and I know that doesn't happen often, and won't change what we're doing. I know that much.
It felt interesting. I was thinking about it today because I was like done a lot of Wrecking Crew coverage, and and I was like, man, I think people might think I'm like a pet part of this thing, and I was like, I feel like Wrecking Crew just works how I've always been working.
Yep.
And I was like, I've always kind of been.
We would have crossed paths.
Yeah, it's just we're like, oh, this is exactly the kind of time I want to take with things and growth I want to have. Like,
yeah,
this is what I've been doing. So it just makes sense. And I see that in Sleep Sinatra, lots of other people outside of that.
Yeah, there's a cool movement going on, whether or not everyone is in on it together or not. It's evident. There's a new energy in the air, and it's cool to be a part of it, and even play a large role in it. Makes it even better. Yeah, been excited to, I posted a collage the other day of just some I was doing collage work on notebooks, and it's been a nice thing. And this rapper from Virginia was like, yo, I saw your post, so I did one too. His is better than mine.
That's fucking
and he's
awesome.
like, yeah, he's like, it's super therapeutic. Thanks for letting me know. I'm like, I mean, I didn't invent the collage, but I did show that, because like I'm from a family where my sister's an artist, right? She's like professional. So there's certain things that, like, while she's always been incredibly encouraging, there's certain things that you feel like you're like, well, that's art. Right. That's fine art that I can't really dabble in, right? But collage work, it's simply just someone could look at it and be like, oh my God, you're so amateur in the way that you did this and this. But no one could tell you that what you cut out and expressed yourself with is not you.
Right.
So it's still a very definitive form of self-expression. And I thought it was really dope. This dude, shouts to Sins Are Bad. I think his name is
Awesome. Yeah.
VA rapper. But I was like, cool. That felt pretty dope. And also it's like a different way of it's not writing. And sometimes you don't want to write. So
No, I mean, yeah, sometimes you gotta, work your brain in different ways to keep the muscle going.
yeah.
And yeah,
True
shout out to
indeed.
the
All right, man. Well, I gotta go get my keys.
Yep.
My
Thank you.
my
Keep me
girlfriend
abreast.
took her keys to work, so I have to go get my keys. Even though I'm in my house,
Yep.
I need to get my keys to get in and out of my house. If you understand what I'm saying.
That's exciting.
Yeah, should be.
Enjoy the night. Thank you. And let me know if shit pops off in the future.
Yeah,
I'll
man.
be here.
Appreciate you, Dan.
Definitely.
And shouts to Yes Brewery, man. RIP. You had a good run.
Brewing is in effect.